the stinger.
Today
Hello.
is Tuesday.
Yeah.
You
Good
know what that
evening. Good evening sa inyong lahat. And it's another Tuesday. Today is Tuesday and wala si Sir Jing. Pero with me right now is Tito Tribs, ang aking nino. Good evening, Tito Tribs. Diyan ka ba? Narinig mo ko?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Yan ho
right.
si yan ho si Tito Jing. Rewind.
The mini Jing.
Hindi ko tatanggapin yun, Ira James. Hindi ka mini Jing. You're an Ira on your own.
Yes, right. Pero nung bata kami, ito yun yung tawag sa amin magkakapatid, the mini Jings. The Jings.
Bakit naman?
Well,
Bakit naman mini Jings?
Well, magkakamukha kami almost.
Kung ako ikaw, may insulto ako dun eh.
Hindi, okay lang.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
Good.
Kasi personally, I got a lot of my own hobbies and interests then sa tatay ko, syempre. And dami-dami kong hobby ngayon.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Parang ano yun eh, no? Parang that's a very difficult thing to explain kasi growing up with my kids, I exposed them to all my hobbies but none of them picked up any of it.
Oh.
None of them picked up any of it. So, siguro meron din silang mga sariling collection nila pero ngayon nga tinitingnan ko dito sa man cave ko yung mga construction equipment ko. Meron akong ano dyan eh. Meron akong fetish ata yung term para dun eh. para sa mga metal construction toys. Dami ko. Mga matchbox, mga ganyan.
Matchbox.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, but none of them picked it up. But in your case, sabi mo nga, natutunan mo, tas marami kang hobbies na kuha mo sa tatay mo.
Yeah, music, toys, anime. So, doon nag-revolve yung ano ko ngayon. And even yung tinkering with electronics, talaga na-pick up ko sa kanya.
Tinkering. Yan, mahilig din ako dyan sa tinkering, but none of my children also had. They have their own collections and their own, di ba?
Yeah.
So
as
I
you grow up talaga,
yeah.
you get your own personality and your own interests.
Correct.
Yeah.
You develop it either by observing. Kasi ako din growing up, my dad had a different set of hobbies. And I never picked up on any of those growing up. Although, ang na-pick up ko was my grandfather. Kasi doon truly interest. Siya, malaking influence sa akin sa pagiging handy. When I see something broken, it won't remain broken for a long time. Diba? Ganon.
Yeah. Hindi ka makatiis. Right. Ganyan din ako sa bahay pag gano'n. For example, nasira yung let's say gaming controller ng asawa ko. Ayusin ko agad.
Hindi. You find kaya you find something that you think is unfixable tas you fix it. Kaya yan yung reputation ko sa mga anak ko growing up na I can fix anything. Diba? I can fix anything. I think that's a good kick-off point. That's a good kick-off point, Ira, for a discussion on millennials. Kasi so parang yung buong how do you call it? The generation spread starting from me. Hindi pala ako baby boomer.
Gen X.
Because the baby boomer ends at 1964. Gen X is 1965. So 1965 to 1975 ba? Yan yung yan yung Gen X, di ba?
Millennial, saan nag-start?
Ang millennial nag-start around 1980.
1980.
So if you're born between 1980 to 1994, then you're a millennial, di ba? So yung mga gaps kasi these are like labels that sociologists put on generations. Kasi may mga definitions eh. May mga definitions, may mga eras. Like, before baby boomer, anong tawag doon sa generation before baby boomer? Yung the golden generation ba yun?
I
Yung people
honestly
who
don't have
live,
idea.
yung people who live,
Let me look it up.
who lived during the war, the greatest generation. That's what they call it. The greatest generation. So
The
it's
silent
called,
generation, 1925 between 1945, yan.
and then what happens after 45? Yung mga those who were born during the war.
World War
Di
II
ba?
na.
Di ba they're called the greatest
The
generation ba?
greatest
Yung,
generation. Yeah, the
tama?
greatest generation
Oh,
in
yun. Okay.
1901 to 1924.
Okay. So they were called the greatest generation because that was a period of both prosperity and great hardship. Yung period na yan. Um, in many places in the world. Yung dun sa mga bansang nag-move forward, coming in, say, from the Industrial Revolution and so on, sagana sila dyan. Pero meron silang war, di ba? Nagkaroon sila ng gera, nagkaroon sila ng civil strife, yung mga ganyan. So they call it the greatest
Yeah,
generation, di
even
ba?
the Great Depression, nabutan din yata rin nila.
The 20s, yung mga ganyan, di ba? So what happens after that? Ano yung next generation? After that, after hindi kagad baby boomer, there should be one more
Uh, uh,
generation before
Greatest
them.
generation, then silent generation, 1925 to 1945.
Okay, and then
The,
after 45,
then after 45, yun na yung baby boomer generation,
okay,
1946 to 1964.
1946 to 1964. And then Gen X, nasaan na Gen Y? Gen X,
Generation X years.
Gen X is from 65 to about
65 to
79
81.
to
81.
81. Okay.
81.
So millennials after 81.
After 81 na.
Millennials
So,
after
1981
81.
to 1996 ang millennials.
Okay. And then
Then,
after that, Gen Z na.
Gen Z na,
Saan napunta
2000s.
yung Gen Y? Bapal Gen Y. Hindi
Walang
marunong
Gen Y.
Hindi marunong Gen Y, XYZ, di ba?
Yeah.
Yun. So, what defines aside from the period of time that covers the millennials, what defines the millennial, di ba?
Yeah,
What
I
defines the
remember reading
millennial?
up on this. Tinatawag nila millennials the digital nomads, where when we started the internet, diba? We started getting exposed to the internet,
Mm,
lots of technology. So then yung pop culture stuff, which was I was really into back in the from 1995 onwards and
mm,
2000s. So those were the times na I think I first got access to the internet. I remember back then I would go to my stepmom's office para mapag-internet
mm.
lang kasi before dial-up internet was really inaccessible. So mag-iipon pa
Oo.
100 pesos para makabili ng card.
Correct, correct, correct,
Pero
correct.
during that time, I would play video games. Dun ako na-expose sa culture ng computer shop.
Mhm.
And yeah, ever since then, I've been comfortable with computers and
Correct.
gadgets.
Oo.
Yeah.
Yung ano pala, yung millennials pala, according to William Strauss and Neil Howe in their book The Generations, is also known as Gen Y.
The silent
Yes.
generation.
No, no, millennials. Millennials,
Millennials.
millennials are also known as Gen Y.
Kami pala yung
Born,
Gen Y.
yes, Gen Y. Nilagyan lang nila ng dinefine lang yung nilagyan lang ng definition yung millennials, especially those who are towards yung mga older ones. They're now aged between 27 to 42, 40, tama ba? Yung my math, 27 to 42 years old.
Yeah,
But
I'm 31 now.
yeah,
So
but
pasok ko
but
lang.
that's so that's the and then they just use that they just used generation Y, or they used
Mm.
millennials spelled with a double N, double
Yeah.
L, double
Is there
N,
any reason for calling it millennials instead of Gen Y?
because supposedly they reached their adulthood at the turn of the century, at the beginning of the new millennium, 'di ba?
Mm.
So yun daw yung yun daw yung sukatan towards Y2K. Towards Y2K.
Towards Y2K.
Di ba?
Grabe yan.
Kasi yung Generation Z was born at the verge of Y2K.
Mm.
Di ba kasi ang Generation Z 1997 or 98. Kung saan nag-stop ang 96, di ba?
96
Ang
ang Gen Z.
oh.
Uh,
So Gen Z starts at 97.
97 actually. Nag-stop ang
Oh,
millennials
tama.
sa 96.
Correct. Tapos that one, Gen Z ends nung 2012, which has now a new generation Alpha,
Gen Alpha
which
naman.
ends Gen Alpha, which ends on from 2013 to 2025.
2025. Wow.
Yep.
2013. So Gen Alpha na siya.
So
So,
magkakaroon ng bago, 'di ba?
oy, Tito
Magkakaroon na
Tribs,
naman ng
batiin
bago.
ko lang yung mga
Yes.
nasa comment section
Game,
natin
game.
before
Hindi ko
we
makita yung
continue.
hindi ko sila makita eh. Go,
Uh,
go, 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 go.
Sige, si Alex Fuentes, always the first on our live streams in both Facebook and
Woo!
YouTube. So, good evening sa'yo, Alex Fuentes. We also have Lian Las Piñas, who's really looking forward to the return of multiply.com. So, I remember using multiply.com back then. Talagang yun yung ano ko, di ako nagpa-friendster na so multiply.com. Pero sana nga magkaroon ng revival. Would really give a lot of nostalgia. Then si Kiko Pegaroye, my cousin, is also here. Good evening, Tito James and Tito Ira daw. And also nandito si Renato Tranquilino. Good evening
Oh,
sa'yo,
Mr.
Renato.
Nato. Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, yun pala mga comments natin. At si Ron Francisco is watching on YouTube. So, good evening mga tito. Naka-reading glass na po ako. Kaya, Tama na ang pagta-type. Kasi naka-reading glasses daw siya. Yeah. So,
Ang labo nun.
yeah.
Labo nun.
Iba talaga pag naka-glasses. Ay ako, I wore glasses for like so many years. Ang aga namin salamin lumabo yung mata kasi we were really exposed to the computer nung bata kami yung CRT pa na monitor.
Oo.
So lumabo
Correct,
mga mata
correct,
namin.
correct. Correct.
Now I had a LASIK operation so hindi na ako nag-glasses ulit just recently.
Oo nga.
And life-changing pag bumalik yung vision mo.
LASIK is not for everyone eh.
Yeah, not for everyone yet.
Yeah, it's not for everyone
That's
eh.
what the doctor told us. Sometimes
Correct.
they really have to check your eyes, give it lots
Oo.
of tests if they will deem you qualify for the LASIK operation. So thankfully kami ng
Parang,
kapatid ko, qualified kami.
parang gusto ko rin magpa-qualify dyan. So, Ira, being a member of the millennial generation, being a member of Gen Y, do you think of yourself as generally unsatisfied with the world around you and entitled?
Dissatisfied about the world, somewhat,
Oo.
kasi yung mga nangyari sa Pilipinas, di ba, ngayon mas aware na ako sa mga nangyari. So, I have that level of dissatisfaction, but not to the point na, maging grabe siya. Pero
Not to the
entitlement,
point of revolution. Di
yeah,
naman
not to the
ganun.
point of revolution. Pero entitlement naman is, how to say this, medyo ano sa akin ng entitlement. Hindi ko naintindihan
You
why they would say that millennials are entitled.
you don't agree.
Yeah, I don't agree.
How?
Kasi
You don't agree.
a lot of our generation, mga friends ko or people who are in my age range, I've seen a lot of people who are really, down to earth. They love
Mm,
teaching others. Very compassionate. So, ganun yung mga nakikita ko.
mm.
So, for myself naman, siguro yung entitlement, I feel like na there are some things na I feel na I'm entitled with, pero not to the point na it would cause annoyance to other people.
Oo.
Yeah.
Kasi ano yan eh. Um, there is a reason. In every generation, I only came to this understanding my relationship, for example, with my parents or my father, and then my relationship with my children. Parang siguro in every generation, there is the same feeling of quote-unquote entitlement. Yung sinasabi ng magulang palagi na, paparating ka parang doon, paano ba yun? Tapos na ako dyan, paparating ka pa lang or something like that, di ba?
Yeah, papunta pa lang, pabalik na ako.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
something like that, di ba? Yun, yung fact na yun, always creates this feeling, this feeling of entitlement, di ba? It always creates that, this that either either it is a wrong feeling or a misunderstanding of what actually happens, di ba? What actually happens. Kasi ano yan there's this great, he's not a motivational speaker, but he just makes a lot of sense. Si Simon Sinek. And I encourage everybody nasa meron siyang TED Talks na discussion on millennials and the golden circle and why leaders should eat last and so on.
Ano yan?
Meron siyang
Simon
Simon
Sinek.
Sinek, Simon Sinek Sinek.
Sige, I shall
Meron siyang
watch that.
meron siyang minention tungkol diyan sa dun sa millennials or the misunderstanding of millennials. Sabi niya, yung yung konsepto na nasa isip natin na entitled yung millennials is because of four factors. I think if I remember correctly, it's parents, technology, impatience, and one more thing. So dahil doon, parenting, technology, impatience, and environment. Yeah. Apat.
Environment.
Yes, the
Oh,
environment. So yun daw yung mga nagwo-work together according to his analysis, which I agree on a lot of that. A lot of what he said, I agreed on. Um, uh, gives that misimpression of millennials, especially as you mentioned kanina, millennials in the workplace.
oh yeah, in the workplace,
Uh,
grabe.
millennials in the
Yeah.
workplace.
You know, in terms of technology, I would find like kaming millennials, kami nagtuturo kung paano gumamit ng printer sa mga boss namin na baby boomers, di ba? And also, at the same
Even
time,
for parents, yeah,
pero
even
at
for
the same
parents.
time, we have to teach the Gen Zs how to use the printer.
Oh, nga, you're in that middle part, di ba?
I'm in
You're
the
in that
middle part.
middle part. Oh, correct.
Yeah, yung paano mag-install ng driver, how to fix it, you know, that's one of the
Yeah. Correct.
uh
Kasi the Gen Z will, they're the plug and play generation.
yeah, the plug and play sila.
Uh,
May mga meme nga na ano you know, the Gen Z won't understand the red, yellow, and white plugs on the TV.
uh,
Yeah.
dun sa likod na ima-match mo para meron kang audio and video. Yellow for
Yeah.
the video,
Yellow.
left, right, white,
Yung
right,
white, red.
left, di ba? Red, left.
De, red ang right.
Red, left, white,
Red,
right.
red and,
Okay.
yeah, red ang right. Left ang white.
Red, right, left ang white. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Batiin ko lang yung mga bagong pasok sa ating comment section. So, si Owen Sayaman, good evening sa'yo.
Yan, Mr. Owen.
Sabi ni Owen, let's send our love to Renato, whose book got sold out. Wow.
Wow.
Actually, very interested
Galing.
ako magka-copy ng book niya. The
Mm.
science fiction stuff. I want to read that. I'm really into that stuff. Sheila Rado, good evening daw. Good evening din sa'yo, Miss Sheila. And then si Tita Mel Dominguez. Good evening, Tito Tribs. And Tito Ira, nandito din siya.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Tatawagin ba nating tito si Aaron? Di ba kuya lang dapat? Kuya Ira.
Yeah.
Kuya.
Actually, sa office, kinukuya na ako. You know, when I'm in the office, I feel so young na nakikisama ko sa mga bagets. Pero
Oo.
kinukuya nila ako.
Correct. Pero yung salita mo pang matanda, bagets. Bagets is a term of the 80s. You
Yeah.
should avoid using that.
Na-pick up ko yan, bagets. Sa tatay.
Oo.
Mga
Parang ako na pick up ko sa nanay ko, chokaran, which is a
chokaran.
term of the 1960s.
Chokaran. Ngayon.
Yeah, chokaran is the equivalent of bagets. Di ba?
When you say it, parang mga kachokaran.
Yes, ganun nga.
Ganun.
Ganun nga. Ganun nga yun.
Interesting.
Correct. Yung that word is a slang. Actually, yung word na chokaran has a very notorious meaning kasi yan yung word na ginagamit sa mga gang. So
Hmm.
it was the negativized. So now it becomes the word for buddy or friend. Pero yung actual meaning yan, that's street talk for kasama mo sa gangmate. Yan yung ibig sabihin talaga ng chokaran,
Uh,
di ba?
yeah.
Yun. So, alam mo na tayo, mahilig tayo dyan sa mga etymology ng mga words na yan, di ba? Parang yung salitang bagets, di ba? Ganun din yan. It's um, it means teenager or youth, di ba? Parang twins, di ba? Um, Colloquy ng bagong, ah, what bagong gupit ata or something. Bagets, parang ganun. Hindi, bagito pala. Bagito,
Bagito. Bagito.
novice or inexperienced. So that's where the
Ah.
word bagets comes from. Kaya nga bagong gupit is also bagong gupit also means novice or inexperienced. Eh. So bagito or that's where the word bagets comes from.
All right.
So ang bagets, hindi siya millennial, di ba? Hindi siya Gen Y, Gen X ang bagets.
Yeah. Sabi ni
Ah,
Tita Mel, friend ng chokaran, barkada. Sabi naman ni
Oo.
Owen, di ba chokaran is mostly associated with kachokaran meaning kahonta? Ano yung kahonta?
Yes, kahonta. Oo, totoo. Ah,
What's
yung word na hunta, is yung kausap mo, kabarkada mo, kasi pag naghuhuntahan kayo, ibig sabihin nag-exchange kayo ng opinions, nagdi-discuss kayo, nakaupo kayo sa tatawanan-tawanan kayo. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng hunta. Pagka
mm,
naghuhuntahan kayo, di ba?
yeah, nababasa
Tapos,
ko lang yung word na junta sa mga government, you
pag
know,
pag paghunta with the letter J, that means a coup d'etat. Di
yeah, the
ba?
military leaders eh. Yeah,
Yep,
they set
it's
up
a
a junta.
military or political it's a military or political takeover.
Yeah, I've
So
seen that a
meron
lot
kang
since I studied political science eh, so doon ko
yes.
lang siya narinig.
Myanmar is under a junta right now. It hasn't been solved.
Mm,
Uh, a lot of countries in the Central American, Latin American regions moved from dictatorships to juntas to democratic governments. For example, Nicaragua, unfortunately, naging diktador na din yung isang taong si Daniel Ortega na nag-lead ng revolution noon. Ayaw na niyang bitawan yung power, ganyan. So, yun, may junta. Pero, yung kachokaran at saka yung junta, doon sa kahuntahan, di ba? The word chokaran devolved from having a negative meaning to becoming positive,
yeah,
naging ibig
naging
sabihin
mainstream
buddy,
term
friend.
siya.
Oh,
Yeah.
naging mainstream term
May
siya.
sinasabi si Owen dito, yung pong panchon is my thinking is from the word pantheon.
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 Yes, panchon. Yung panchon na what we call yung mga grave markers or cemetery or graveyard, di ba? Yon.
Mm.
So pero um it's also cooking implement which I forget what. Yung panchon is also a cooking implement.
Sabi ni Owen, yung huntahan daw ginagamit pa nila sa Cavite.
Oh, yes. Pati dito sa Laguna, Owen, gamit pa yan, maghuhuntahan kayo, di ba? Maraming yung mga salita, ma- maraming mga lugar sa Southern Tagalog, tsaka South Luzon region na nag-keep or gumagamit pa ng mga makalumang Tagalog terms.
Sabi ni Renato,
Yun.
Cosas. Then, sabi,
Kosas, kakosa.
Kakosa. Then,
Oo,
sabi ni Owen naman, yung panchon, tama daw, sementeryo.
oo. Kosa, kakosa.
Kosa.
So, yung kosa naman, kasama yan sa prison. Cellmate. Pagkakakosa ka, nagsama kayo sa kulungan. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng kosa, di ba?
ah,
So, kaya yung development na yun, kosa. Pagka kasama mo sa kulungan, ano ka, kakosa mo siya.
yeah.
Yun yung word.
Narinig ko rin yan, kakosa.
'di ba? So yun that hasn't devolved, that hasn't changed from its original meaning. Pag kakosa mo pa rin. Kakosa mo pa rin. Parang ang tawagan ng mga abogado sa kapwa nila abogado, panyero, 'di ba?
Padyero.
Oh, panyero. Partner, basically
Mm.
partner o partner,
Padyero,
panyero.
partner.
Oo, panyero.
Mm.
So ganyan yung mga ano, ganyan salita. Balik tayo. Ano, Kuya Ira, balik tayo dun sa
Talk on millennials.
sa balik tayo sa ano sa usapang millennial. Um Ay, hindi, teka muna, yung panyero pala hindi yun literally partner kasi tinapay yun eh. Pero parang
Panyero.
parang naging colloquy for partner yung word na ano na panyero. Parang ganon.
Mm.
Lalo na sa mga abogado. Ganon
Yeah.
yung tawag.
May tanong
Pan
si Renato, yung kakama. Iba
Pusa!
atin.
Pwede yan. Pwede yan, Mr. Sci-Fi Nato. Pwede yan dahil ano, pusa, pwede naman kakama yung pusa. Dog, pwede naman kakama
Okay.
yan, di ba?
So I had something else in mind. Yeah. Okay.
So millennials in the workplace. So, teka muna, balik tayo dun sa sinabi kong apat na bagay. Parenting, technology, impatience, and environment, according to Simon Sinek, were the four biggest things that affected this concept, our concept of millennials being entitled. Pinakauna dyan yung ano, yung technology. Kasi with technology, especially screen time, at saka yung for example, here's an example. The attention span of a common person, sorry, say a millennial compared to say a Gen Y compared to a baby boomer has changed. I don't know how short it is. Pero lalo na sa Gen Z and
Gen
maybe sa
Z.
Gen Alpha. 'Di ba? Paikli yung attention span natin eh. Because our way of communicating has moved from talking to visual, 'di ba? We're looking at screens. During the pandemic, our concept of people is a one by one box on your screen or a two by two box on your screen, 'di ba? So nag-change yung mga konsepto natin. So nag-change din yung ano. That also changes the way that we perceive the world or maybe the millennials perceive the world, di ba? So dun sa usapan kasi ng millennials in the workplace, what do you think? Kasi kanina nung bago tayo magpunta siya, pinag-usapan natin yan. Tapos sabi mo, how, like in the coming generation, our CEOs and those who will lead many companies will come from this generation, di ba? This millennial generation.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate enough to work for a company na may multi-generation tayo kami na
Ah,
workforce. So
mm,
we have the baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, and my
mhm,
Gen Z.
mm,
And the way I look at it is I feel na someone from my generation is actually kind of bridging the gap in terms of mga simple terminology ng Gen Z to the Gen X and the baby boomer people. Yung mga
mm,
ganun lang. And I feel na, there's a lot of things that I could share to the Gen Z. And at the same time,
mm,
I'm learning on my older bosses and older colleagues on how they work.
mm, mm.
And in a way, it's sort of become an inspiration for me
Aha.
because a lot of my older colleagues are well experienced and ako
Mm,
minsan ang baba ng confidence ko sa leading a team
mm,
and
mm,
and when I would actually have the chance to do that, I would find myself na putting in a little bit of what what someone from my generation would be, 'di ba? Kasi
Mm.
nakikita ko yung mga TikTok about let's say millennial managers versus Gen X and baby boomer managers, 'di ba?
Oo.
It's sort of accurate na minsan alam ko nakaka-intimidate kausap yung mga older colleagues mo. And
Mhm.
then you will be coming generation namin will be the ones being approached by the younger ones. Um
Mm.
and then I feel like na-influence din namin yung mga older colleagues because they would also start feeling yung mga younger colleagues ko would start feeling very comfortable then with the older generation. So it's sort of kind of bridging the gap.
Okay, okey. Sabi ni sabi ni ano, ni nagpadala ng message sa'kin si Ludi, sabi niya yung chokaran daw means friends. Yes, but ano
Mm.
nga yun, totoo yun, pero nanggaling yun talaga sa ano, nanggaling yun talaga sa gangmate. That's where the ano is, that's where it happens. That's where the show happens. So so that's where the word comes from, di ba?
Mm.
Pero yung point na ni-raise mo sa millennials kasi ito yung ano, ito yung ako naman, my unique position is that I have children who are all within the space of, all three of them are within the space of the Gen Y and two of them are in Gen Z. So makikita mo yung difference, and the like how different they are from each generation or from each cluster of generation. Tapos doon ko rin na-realize yung sinabi ni Simon Sinek tungkol doon sa parenting. Although I think what Simon Sinek was saying was more applicable to the US than generally worldwide, and like in cultures, like in more supportive, stronger family cultures like those we find in Southeast Asia, whether it's a blended family or a regular family. um mas
Actually, ano,
mataas yung mas mataas yung support system kasi, 'di ba?
yeah, and
Sa
actually
Southeast
may
Asia.
question si Owen about na related to that. Teatro niya if
Oo.
generational differences, if the same ba siya with other countries
Yeah,
or
yeah.
are they different across different countries?
There are and there are many similarities. Dun sa mga differences, they are cultural. They're mostly cultural. Pero for example, dun sa bagay ng attention span or ng technology, 'di ba? This is common. This is common to any country. There's an example. For example, there's an example on, say, what's happening on TikTok, for example. So in TikTok, as a social platform, can be very informative, at the same time can be very ruining, di ba? Kasi nagiging basis ng the way a certain person or a certain generation acts, nagiging basis ng parang the way that they judge, quote unquote, if we can use that word, other other people, or people from their same generation. And the generation this generation, or the not the millennial generation, the say the Gen Z, they have actually difficulty talking to people face to face. Diba?
Mm.
This is proven. There is a study, I forgot by who, na na they find it very difficult to talk to people face to face and to receive advice. They feel that advice is like a form of judgment. So when you start giving an opinion about something, oh, you're judging me. No, 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 no. But you're just giving an opinion, di ba? Um, Simon Sinek, I remember Simon Sinek saying something about that parang there is no actual communication. All of the communication happens on social media, either on a private messenger space, or on a social media platform like Facebook or Reddit, or Twitter, X pala, 'di ba, mga ganon. So yun yung ano, doon nanggagaling yung ano, doon nanggagaling yung discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, I think
right?
that makes sense since
Right?
I feel like na yung mga nakikita ko on YouTube or TikTok, I cannot relate to the Gen Z sa ibang bansa because they act really differently compared to the people here in the Philippines.
Yes,
And I think
yes.
it's
It's
really a
really a culture
cultural
thing.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Minsan hindi
really
ako
a
nakaka-relate
cultural
din on
thing.
what they experience.
Correct.
Batiin ko lang si Seven Hosting PH, nandito siya ngayon. So magandang gabi, Tito Jing, Tito Tribs, and uh, sa mga nanonood daw ng Today is Tuesday, and good evening din daw sa akin. Good evening sa'yo, Seven Hosting. Then Owen Sayaman commented that as I think the more
Huh.
progressive the country is, the wider the divide. So sana may study ng long term tungkol sa wealth divide ng economic classes stratified by generations. I think he means na, for example, in my case, 'di ba, the way I look at it, ay mga generations before me, they're able to afford buying a house, buying a car. Ngayon medyo mahirap ngayon in this generation. So I think yun yung parang uh, ibig niya sabihin nun.
Mm,
May comment
mm.
din si Ron Francisco on YouTube. Sabi niya sa amin sa Central Luzon, naninindahan or namimili. Naninindahan.
Naninindahan, no?
Naninindahan.
Naninindahan.
Yeah.
Correct.
Something na I've not heard in a long time.
Naninindahan. Parang
Yeah.
dito sa amin pagka ikaw ay pupunta somewhere that is going if you're from a high place going down.
Mhm.
Correct mo nga ako, Ludi. Lulusong ka ba? Lulusong. Tama, lusong ang pababa, ahon ang pataas.
Ahon niya. So, gagamitin ko yung naninindahan. Sasabihin ko, punta lang ako bibili ng yellow, maninindahan ako dun sa kanto. Parang gano'n.
Oo, yan.
Okay.
So, ako naman magsha-shoutout ako kay ano, ang ating kaibigan si Monch Henares from Monster Chronicles. He's watching right now. Salamat, Monch,
Evening,
nandiyan ka.
Mon.
Si Monch
Monch. Good
Henares.
evening. Good evening.
Yes, Monch Henares. Yan. So, again, going back to millennials in the workplace. So, do you think that millennials in the workplace are, from your perspective, as a millennial in between the baby boomer, and do you think that you are, or you, do you think you are productive? So that's a question. But maybe kasi it's a little different Kuya Ira, kasi you fall in that part of the millennial generation where you're an older millennial, di ba?
Yeah.
You're like towards that middle part of being a millennial and then almost crossing already. Kasi maybe the younger millennials will be more, can be more ano, can answer that question better if, like, that question on productivity in the, I only ask this because, for example, I noticed among my colleagues uh in the newspaper where I work, in Malaya Business Insight, wala kaming millennials ngayon wala kami, except merong darating na intern, may darating na may darating na OJT, and then the values that we know in the newsroom, like speediness, dapat mabilis kang mag-act, meron kang i-file, you have to be more detailed and stuff like that. The detailed part they can do, the the programming or the development part they can do, but the speediness part is a little difficult.
Mm. Yeah, I think
It's a little
ano,
difficult.
I can chime in something to that. I've actually, in my previous job, I worked for a very, very traditional company na
Oo.
may syempre older generation talaga, like baby
Mm.
boomers. It's more stiff on
Oo.
they're more stiff on their deadlines, on the way they do things.
Mm.
Kasi ako, I like bringing in new ideas, new
Correct.
processes. I love collaboration. And
Oo.
sometimes I felt like na when I was working for that company, they would just give me a task, then expect me na matatapos ko siya kagad. Wherein
Mm.
I feel like na, for example, I need to collaborate with another department, ganyan. So, yeah, I really have to figure it out on my own. And in my current workplace now, I'm very grateful
Pero
na ano, even though na multi-generation siya, I feel like na it's more progressive and very open
pro-
on collaboration and ideas.
progressive
So,
by how? By what way?
progressive in a sense na you feel like there's no wrong ideas that you can throw out to the team,
Mhm.
and the older colleagues are really gonna be supportive on what you want to do. So that's something that I did not feel in my previous workplace. Na very traditional.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So so that's important to a millennial. Like for example, you use the word collaboration, di ba? So I remember that Sesame Street skit where they cooperation, di ba? So may pagkakaiba ba yung collaboration and cooperation? Sagutin ko na sarili ko. Yung cooperation salita ng baby boomer, yung collaboration salita ng millennial and the younger generation. But there is actually a huge difference. Kasi with cooperation, you need to cooperate. You need to work with that somebody or with that something, di ba? Kaya doon sa Sesame Street, yung cooperation, it's always like opening up a door or opening a slot for you to be able to bring in somebody else to do a project or to
mm,
execute something. Diba? That's cooperation. The difference between that and collaboration is that with collaboration, which is a used to be a buzzword, but it's like a permanent fixture of this generation. Ang collaboration, meron kayong shared vision. Meron kayong
exactly,
shared
exactly.
vision,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So that's the very different. That's the biggest difference. When you cooperate, after you cooperate, I'm done. I cooperated. Yay, di
Then
ba?
alis na, 'di ba? Wala nang
Tapos na
ownership.
'yon.
Oo, tapos
Wala,
na 'yan.
yon. So that's the word. So collaboration has ownership. Because you have a vision. Oh, we're going to go here and we're going to do this and we're going to achieve this and so on. So what do we do? Oh, then we do this and this and this, di ba? In cooperation also, when you cooperate, you need to cooperate most of the time without without protest, 'di ba? There is absolutely no value for like, fighting for what you think should happen and so on. In collaboration, that's you're open to that. When you collaborate, part of the collaboration is that dapat may exchange kayo ng ideas, may synthesis, and after that synthesis, you go on to your shared vision and you do something, di ba?
Yeah,
Yun.
that's
So,
what ano eh. Teams are for. You build something together, and that's
huh,
how you create a really progressive environment. Na
correct.
nobody feels shut down or
Pero,
set aside, parang ganun.
Kuya Ira, ibig sabihin, you use the word team. Team and teamwork are concepts of the baby boomer generation, di ba?
Yeah,
So, 'di ba? So yung development ng collaboration sort of like extends
yeah.
that
It
idea
evolved the idea of teamwork.
of teamwork, 'di ba?
Yeah,
Yun, yun. So yan yung so yung collaboration, yan, that's another term, that's another word of the of
in,
the of this particular generation, 'di
yeah.
ba?
Another experience I would like to share on my previous work na very traditional and very stiff is that wala silang investment on their employees. That's one of the things I really felt.
Ah,
Na madali kang palitan.
which is no good.
No good, yeah. You feel that way na hindi ka nag-grow. So that's
Correct.
one of the hurdles that I also faced na and with my new job I feel like na even the older colleagues are really investing on their coworkers na mas younger, and
Correct.
helping them, teaching them grow in their career.
Mm.
So that's one of the big differences na nakita ko.
There is one trait the of my generation versus this current generation of millennials when it comes to that. Kasi maganda yung point na ni-raise mo yung tungkol dun sa um, investing in people. Usually older companies are either afraid or stupid not to invest in people because they know that they see people as part of the four piece. They're a resource that is that is dispensable and replaceable, di ba? So kunyari sa America, in order for a company, for example, there is a say there is the company has a loss, di ba, because of say an environment non-controllable issue, say a tornado destroyed it. In order to address the loss, what happens is they fire people. Di ba?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
fire people to address the problem.
Yeah, puro
Whereas,
layoffs nga ngayon eh.
puro layoffs, di ba? Puro
Mm.
layoffs. So, instead of, doing a layoff, uh, the I know of one particular company. Um, they're a very big company. They're very strong in the freight industry, si Nanparel. And I'm very close to them. And sila ganyan, the CEO and the COO, they're very vocal about this word of of firing people when there is a problem. The challenge to their managers or their executives is that the last thing that should happen is layoffs, and they have never laid off a person based on the difficulties that the company faced, di ba?
Mhm.
Kasi that should be the last thing on the mind of an employer, to to kick out somebody because quote unquote you need to survive. Cut down your salary, Mr. CEO, di ba? So because your salary can pay for 100 people siguro. Di ba?
Yeah.
So parang ganon yung ganon yung sukatan doon. And I think that for the millennials, for the millennial generation, yung idea din na yon kasi is also unthinkable. Pero, the millennials in the workplace also, and this is also a proven study, have this concept about work that is also very fluid and dynamic. 'Di ba? You don't want me, I'm leaving. 'Di ba? Parang ganon. It's not, there is the idea of say the Japanese idea of company loyalty, 'di ba? For for Japanese millennials seem to have been forgotten. I watched this in a program of NHK. I'll try to look for it and put the
Mm.
I'll put the
I
link
thought
here.
ano eh, medyo nagulat ako dyan sa sinabi mo na eh. Kasi ang perception ko naman sa Japanese employees is like a lot of them really stay with their company for
Oh yeah, they
a really
do.
long time until they retire. Isang company lang
Yes.
talaga sila.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
so it's
that
bago sa
doesn't
akin
seem
yun.
to happen with the Japanese millennials
Oo.
sa workplace. They have a Japanese millennials and maybe Gen Z, they have a different parang they have a different thinking about it already, 'di
Mm.
ba?
Kasi from what I've seen and from people I've known, mostly mga nagjo-job hopping talaga yung mga Gen Z.
Oo, job
And
hopping.
yeah, job hopping. Ako
Correct.
personally, I stay with a job for like what 4 or 5 years, and if I
Mm,
can stay longer, that's even better, diba?
correct.
Yeah,
Ako ganyan din ako. I have the 7-year itch for for corporate work. I
yeah,
mean,
for
I've
corporate,
been
yeah.
I've been a journalist for 23 years and I never grew tired of it. Pero for corporate work, ho hum, 'di ba? Here's another thing. Here's another interesting thing for Japanese millennials. I remember I'm still looking for the NHK show that I'll post the here. I remember that in Japan, a recent survey last year lang, uh a lot of Japanese office workers do not like to become managers because they want to stay salarymen. That's the word that they use in Japan for people who work on a 9 to 5 job. They don't want to be managers because of the added responsibility. Gusto nila, they're just salarymen. They're happy.
They're content
Correct.
with the routine, and
Yes.
kasi the longer that you stay in that routine, it gets easier,
Correct.
diba?
We know how the Japanese are when it comes to work hours. I've experienced that having worked for a Japanese company for 7 years. Nakita ko yon na they work for long hours because it's seen as a sign of a commitment to the company and so on. The Japanese millennials, they prefer to work independently, possibly work at home or work on their own terms. So it's really very difficult to like cloister them in an office space, 'di ba?
Wait.
So
Ganun pala yun.
nagbago na talaga, nag-shift na rin 'yan. Um like the in the Japanese company, promotion comes with seniority, 'di ba? Hierarchy and seniority. So millennials don't like that. The Japanese millennials don't agree with that. It has to be, and I think millennials everywhere,
Yeah.
uh, in
Yung
their minds, they
sa
think that it's
seniority nagbe-base ang ano, ang
ang Japanese.
uh,
But the millennials want it to be based on performance.
I think I can
Di
agree
ba?
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Di ba? Based
Kasi
on
some ano
performance.
sabi nga ni Owen sa Owen dito is job hopping is a way to increase one's compensation.
Correct.
Which is I think na dapat talaga it's a it's not a good practice kasi if you want the way I see it, if you really want a high compensation, you have to earn the experience for it. Kasi what if they give you a job na a responsibility na mataas pero hindi mo pala magagawa, di ba? Because you just
Correct.
job hop to increase your compensation. It's not
Mm.
gonna be healthy for you then mentally. So
Oh.
yeah. Which is
Okay.
another factor na importante din sa I think sa mga millennials is, mental health.
Yeah.
Mental yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. You start off that discussion for mental health. There's a lot of, or there there are two schools of thought now for that. There was there probably was a lot of mental health issues even with Gen Y, but nobody was paying attention to it. And then for the millennial generation and in Gen Z, because we're all aware of it, it started
Yeah.
to become
Yeah, ngayon ko
more understood.
yeah, actually ngayon recently rin na-realize na nagiging simula na rin ng importance of mental health in the workplace.
Yeah,
Yeah, in this generation ko siya nakita. Kasi before, I would see people na, just work, then that's it. Pero without really
correct.
taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Or maybe in my generation, the way to cope up with mental health was to drink. right after right after work, di ba ganon? You go out, you drink, whatever, di ba? And so
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So, ganun yung. But here's one thing, Kuya Ira. I
Mm.
remember also that one of the things that affects millennials is social media consumption or being on social media often. They there was a study also that sort of said like um being on social media or reading a lot on social media can affect either your outlook in life kasi parang, oh, I'm damn poor and everybody else is rich. I'm so ugly and everybody else is handsome or beautiful or whatever, di ba?
Yeah,
So nagkakaroon ng comparison, and because of that consumption and comparison, di ba? It also affects
the mental health.
mental
Yeah,
health,
I agree.
di ba?
I experienced kind of the same thing.
Aha.
When in the late ko na siya na-realize then before I
Oo.
got out of it. Um, I was yung nag-start talaga social media Friendster, then I got into Facebook.
Correct.
I realized that I tend to compare myself to other people, and that's
Yep.
why I yung mga post ko dati talagang pasikat or whatever, di ba?
Mm.
Na ano, and you seek affirmation from people on social media, which is not a good way to cope rin on the difficulties that you're facing, and it caused
Correct.
a lot of insecurity.
Yeah.
That's why if you would just look at my Facebook ngayon, puro meme posting na lang, because that's I don't really comment on or do commentary on other people or whatever. And halos lahat ng buong Facebook feed ko, I
Mm.
unfollowed almost everyone.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's very, it was very liberating kasi,
Liberating, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
kasi wala na nakikitang post that would cause me insecurities na, oh, bakit siya
correct.
ganyan, or I have to be like that then. That's the kind of thinking that I gathered
That's
throughout
true.
the years eh. Oo. So ngayon I
Correct.
actually very technology thing.
Yeah.
I found a script online na pwedeng automated niya if unfollow yung mga pina-follow mo sa Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Padala
ngayon,
mo nga yan. I-post mo nga yung script mo dyan
yeah, I
para,
made a Facebook video on it, pero I can share the site din kung saan makukuha yung script.
yeah.
I don't know if it
S-
still works, but I can try later.
Oo.
And now, since cleaned up na yung mga fina-follow ko, now I just follow meme pages just for the laughs. Or mga hobby pages, yan.
Oo, yan.
Yeah.
Kasi hindi ka maano doon. There's also a study that was done in before the pandemic and after the pandemic. Makikita mo that like from 17 this is US not the Philippines. I have not seen a decent study like this. 17% now of all millennials in the US were depressed, 14% were suffered some form of anxiety. That increased to about 30 and 24% respectively pandemic times, and then after pandemic continued at that same rate, 'di ba?
Mm.
So so mental health talaga is a really huge issue. Depression, anxiety, 'di ba? A lot of it requires psychotherapy kasi maybe your Tita Luli and I were talking about it once. Baka in our generation, nobody was paying attention to it because we didn't know that, oh, he's sad or he's just like on the side or, di ba, or like this or like that. We didn't know. Ako nga, iniisip ko, I could have gone through a period of that in my life, especially when I had many cats. Kasi I was finding comfort with taking care of many cats, di ba, parang ganon. So,
Mm.
maybe, because it was not understood in that
Yeah.
in that
And
generation.
I believe that's din, very important kasi when you don't have pag neglect mo yung mental health mo,
Mm,
your work is gonna suffer.
of course.
Yeah.
Of
And
course.
recently I have an experience, recently lang to na pinarealize sa akin ng isang boss ko na, baka you're experiencing this again. That's why medyo
Oo,
nag-slump ka sa work.
oo.
Then, when I reflected on myself, oo nga, no? Then, yun, balik ulit. Uh,
Correct.
Fix the mindset and all. Then, you just
Mm.
have to cope with it and do a lot of self-reflection. And you really have to take care of your, the way you think.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
way
not
you think.
easy. I'm not saying it's easy to, snap out of it. Pero it
Mhm.
takes work talaga. Yeah.
Oo. Time
Eh,
spent on social media. That has to be screen time and time spent on social media. Ang laki yan. It has an adverse impact talaga on mental health, on your personality, and so on. The other side of that mental health issue kasi, Kuya Ira, is narcissism eh. So we have one side which is depression and anxiety, which are triggered. I mean, our happy chemicals in our body, dopamine and serotonin, di ba? They're not triggered when you're in that state. But on the other end, there is also the narcissistic personalities also created. Similarly created when you're on the other side of the spectrum on social media, at ikaw ang laging bida, then you become narcissistic, di ba?
yeah, that's true.
Yun yung kabilang side.
Yeah.
Yun yung kabilang side. So
Tsaka
that
masasabi ko
needs
rin
to,
is,
mm.
kasi nakita ko na rin 'to na masyadong nag-glorify ang depression,
Oh, that's true.
on how people behave the way they are, hindi gina-justify
Correct.
nila. And I believe na dapat, you own up to your own actions, 'di ba? You can still make
Correct.
a choice regardless if you're depressed or not, 'di ba? You still do the choices that you make and you act upon them.
Yeah,
There are gonna be consequences. So, hindi
correct.
pwedeng excuse yung, mental health ko kaya ako ganito, ganyan.
The
Uh,
the very realization of that is already a way out of it, 'di ba? Yung minention mo
yeah,
when
yeah.
you are, 'di ba? When you're at that state and you realize it, then you're like 50% cured.
Yeah, and that's why ano, having a support group then pwede mag-aware sa'yo na people you can
Correct.
trust.
Correct.
It's really big help then. So
Yeah.
you really need to find that support people na who can make you aware if you're doing something wrong talaga.
Oo.
And grateful ako na meron ganun sa akin na that helped me snap out of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's so important talaga. So important. Because depression, it lowers your self-esteem, it takes away your drive to do something, di ba? You know, reduces whatever performances as a human that you have, di ba?
Mm.
Pero I agree with what you said, 100%. The realization of it will help you snap out of it so that you can, when, and it's also like that. It's not just one switch you turn on and off. Pero you turn several switches for you to progress and then, get out of that
Yeah,
situation.
actually sa ano nga I would isisingit ko 'to, you can actually look to the 12 steps of Alcoholic Anonymous kasi nag-aalanan din ako. Uh, yung step one dyan is you admit that you're powerless over alcohol and your life
Mm.
has become unmanageable. So
Oo.
you can use that as like if you admit na may problem ka, you're powerless over this problem. That's the first
Oo.
step of you doing something about it. Is the admission.
Yeah.
You
To
reflect.
recover. Correct.
Yeah, you reflect and you realize na oh may mali nga sa akin,
Correct.
and that admission to yourself will actually push you forward
Tama.
to getting yourself better. So, yun.
Correct. Correct. Kuya Ira, it's 9:03. It's a really good discussion that we have.
Oh yeah, oo nga no.
Oo nga, 9:03 na. Ganda
9:03
ng
na.
kwentuhan natin. Sige nga, pabasa kung sino pa nandyan sa before we end,
Sige,
before we close off the show.
tapos si Renata nag siya, comment siya, I'm depressed, give me money. Lol. Yeah, sabi ni Owen, agree siya, tama daw, people nowadays are using depression as a scapegoat or mental health scapegoat. Then, actually, yun lang. Yun na yung mga bago nating comments. Pero I would like
Okay.
to thank everyone na naki-hangout sa atin dito sa Today and Tuesday. We had
Yes.
a lot of comments and viewers and lots of reactions. So, batiin ko ulit si mga nanood sa atin ngayon. Sila Owen, Renato, sila Tita Mel, Tita Sheila. Seven Hosting is also here. And also sila Alex Fuentes.
Mhm.
And everyone else na nanood sa atin. And also Ron Francisco na nasa YouTube.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right, last words for tonight, Tito Tribs.
Okay, sige po. Maraming salamat. Also shout out again to Monster Chronicles, Monchanares, who's also with us here. Thank you very much for joining us. And sige po, maraming po salamat. Raymond Tribdino, Tito Tribs of Malaya Business Insight and TechSabado. And until pagbalik ni Tito Jing, si Tito Jing ay nasa airport pero hindi po siya aalis. Maghahatid lang po siya ngayon. So, I hope you're listening, Tito Jing, and magandang gabi po sa lahat. Back to you, Kuya Ira.
All right, thank you, Tito Tribs. So everyone that has been, today is Tuesday. We have been chatting for more than an hour. And ulit, maraming salamat sa mga nakinig at nakisubaybay sa amin. And would like to thank our sponsors, Smart Telecommunications, and also the Music Source and Mackie for our audio equipment. So, standing in on behalf of my dad, Jing Garcia. My name is Ira James. And ang boses ng konsensya ng stream na to. So, good to be here when I get the chance. And hope to see you guys in the next one. Alright, play ko lang yung stinger para mapagana tayo.
Today is Tuesday.
Bye,
You know
everyone.
what that
Bye.